set the tone. Just us. 1, 2, 3.
Just us.
Just us.
Just us.
Just us.
Just us. 1, 2, 3. Just us.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 1 of the Just Us Golden State Warriors podcast. I'm Shazia.
And I'm Tamoor.
And we are a husband and wife duo who love the Warriors.
Yeah, we are diehard Warriors fans. You've been a diehard Warriors fan your entire life. I've been a Warriors fan for most of my adult life. And now I'm living in the Bay Area and get to experience the life and culture of a Warriors fan, which has been fun. So What is your history with the Warriors?
Well, I'm born and raised in the Bay Area, and I played basketball growing up, which was a lot of fun. My dad used to take me to all my tournaments, and we used to go to Warriors games together. I played in AAU, won my 5th grade championship, which is a point of pride for me.
Married to a champion?
I know, right?
That's crazy.
It is crazy. But the Warriors have really been my favorite team since I was a kid. And I really stuck with the team through the bad times in order to get to the good times, because for most of my life, the Warriors weren't great. But I stuck it out. And the second I was able to afford season tickets, I went and invested. And I've been to so many games. And it's fun to be able to go to games with you now because you've evolved into becoming a big fan as well.
Yeah, so I was obviously raised in London where basketball wasn't a big deal. We were a football nation, soccer nation primarily, and then cricket nation after that. So basketball was way down in the pecking order of sports that we consume. But I always loved basketball because of the 90s era. Jordan, that was the one player and the biggest part of the culture that managed to translate overseas. So I loved Jordan. And from there, I developed an interest in basketball and then watched every now and then when I could, mostly like clips here and there because they didn't show basketball on British television in any way. They do now, but they never used to. And when I was picking a team, I picked the Golden State Warriors because I always wanted to live in the Bay Area. And that was because of ties to my current career and where I wanted to work. And it just made sense for me to pick the team that I envisioned myself living in the city of, or the state of. So it's what the kids call manifesting, I guess.
For sure.
Yeah. But yeah, my first in-person NBA game was, what was it? Like we started dating in 2022.
Yeah, we started dating in 2022, and one of our first dates was going to a Warriors game.
Yeah.
At Chase Center.
We went to a Cal game before that.
We did, Cal
basketball. So that
basketball.
was my first ever live basketball game with players that are competent.
I don't think I can remember a single player who was on the court.
We left halfway through because it was boring.
We did leave during halftime. I think Pilo was performing.
Pilo did perform, yeah.
Yeah,
and I was like,
cool.
Who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
And now he's on every Wingstop advert. In between every timeout in every Warriors game if you're watching in the Bay Area.
Yeah. So we did go to your first in-person NBA game. I think it was the Warriors versus Clippers. Mm-hmm. And it was your first experience watching the team play.
What do you remember about that experience?
What I remember that I was mostly looking at your reaction because we went early. I love going to games early so I could watch Steph warm up. I could watch the players warm up. To me, that's part of the experience. And being able to do that is so special. And so that was the first time you got to see it as well. So I was mostly focused on what you were thinking and what you were doing. So what did you think of it?
I want to know what you remember, how you remember me reacting.
You were very wide-eyed.
Yeah.
You seemed like you were having a lot of fun, but I think you were surprised and kind of shocked by how cool the whole experience was.
Yeah. It's obviously when you watch any sort of basketball, the broadcast is very much focused on what's happening on the court, which means you don't get to see the wider experience of watching a basketball game, which is what I wasn't expecting. And I describe it to people who haven't seen it as what people outside of America think of when they think of Americans going to see monster truck shows, because it is absurd in every level. I remember being in there and seeing flames come out of the hoops at one point, and fireworks, I think, at one point. And in my mind, I was just thinking, this is a spectacle beyond just the sport itself. And then that continued into the timeouts, when they would occasionally have people come out and shoot, t-shirts from a cannon. And then the halftime show, where I can't remember what the halftime show was at that Clippers Warriors game. But these days, everything from elderly people doing dance shows.
It's called the Hardwood Classics.
The Hardwood
Tam.
Classics, sure. Kids doing dance shows.
Christian and Scooby.
Yep, the basketball
the
dog
dog
trick.
Performer, yeah.
Lady with hoop throwing
Red
that
Panda.
around, Red Panda. But it's a whole song and dance routine, which is, I was not expecting, and then also it was very, very musical. That was a big part of it that I really enjoyed, because Bay Area culture, music being a big part of it, hyphy movement, and various hip-hop artists that raised or found their footing in the Bay Area. That was a big part of it, and I love rap and hip-hop, and it just aligned very, very perfectly for me. And then what you guys call sneaker culture on top of that all kind of aligned together. And then it was just the fact that I don't think I'd ever seen a player of Steph's stature that close. And we're not super close, where we have great seats, but
we are upper level.
We are upper level, but close enough that you can see Steph's every minute movement. And like you said, we go in early, over an hour early, every game to watch the warm-ups. And I think it was the first time I've been starstruck by a sports person, because I knew of Steph beforehand, obviously, but then seeing him practice and being like, it's what people say aura is these days. You can feel it coming off of him, and you can see how in control of the ball he is, but in an effortless way. And it was Steffortless. It's very Steffortless. That is when he started backing up after every 3-point shot until he was beyond the halfway line. And that's when I realized, oh, this guy's not a player. He is a basketball god. Like, this is... And then it was realizing, oh, it was one of those... There's a meme online which is like, the world is X million years, billion years old, and somehow you manage to live at the same time as famous person's name. And for me, it was like, I am alive at the same time as Steph Curry, and it's crazy. So I think that's where I instantly became a Steph fanatic in that moment. And as you can attest to, I very much lived the Steph Curry is the GOAT life.
He is the GOAT.
He is, yeah.
And that game was also your first experience at the team store. We got you your first Warriors hat.
Look at my hat. Yeah.
And it's been a slippery slope since then.
I think we buy everything. It's 50-50 whether we're going to buy something when we go to the game.
We almost always buy something.
Yeah.
Merch.
We are the Golden State Warriors whales, as they call them, where they're spending money for no reason whatsoever other than to feel good. But we do have a rule. We only buy something on games we win.
That's right.
Yeah.
We try to stick to that.
Yeah. We don't want to reward the team for losing. So if you want your merch money, you better win, Steph, even though you don't earn much from it. But yeah, do you remember who my first jersey was?
Was it Draymond? Clay. No, GP2? Yeah.
It was GP2. Technically, yeah, I think it was GP2. And then I got a Clay jersey very shortly after because it was on sale. And it was a very, very, very large one that I wear around the apartment now when it's hot. But yeah, that was a genuine life-changing moment, I think. But we are now together doing a podcast about the Golden State Warriors. Which begs the question, why are we doing this podcast, Shazia?
Well, we're doing it because we love the team. And
I know why I'm doing it.
Why?
And it's because when we first met and we are getting to know each other, I don't think I've told you this.
Oh my gosh, what is it?
When we first met and we were getting to know each other and we talked about what we wanted to do, careers and that kind of stuff, do you remember what you told me you always wanted to be?
What do you remember me saying?
You wanted to be like a sports broadcaster.
I did.
You
yes.
wanted to be
Well,
essentially,
first-
you essentially looked at Kerith Burke and were like, I want to do that.
Yeah, and I feel like I could have done it better.
Let's not talk
but
shit about
okay,
Kerith.
yeah.
She's great.
Kerith is great. Shout out to Kerith.
Yeah.
Well, when people used to ask me growing up as a kid, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said I wanted to own a basketball team. So I said I either wanted to be an owner or I wanted to be a GM. So, from a business-minded perspective, I wanted that responsibility. I wanted to do that. I wanted to be instrumental in creating and sculpting a team. But I quickly realized you need money to do that.
Oh, yeah.
So I knew I wasn't ever going to be able to achieve that. But hey, never say never. But I love sports so much. And I like interviewing people. I like asking questions. I like talking, I guess. Or you can attest to that. You think I'm a yapper, right?
You are a yapper, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. But you said, and then you kind of scaled it back to, I would love to be a broadcaster.
Yeah.
And then when we started talking about doing a podcast, in my mind, I just thought, yeah, it makes sense. I should encourage this because it puts you with a mic in your hand talking about your favorite sports team, which is in a very small way finally letting you realize that dream, right?
It is. That's very sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, but we also...
I mean, we talk about the Warriors all the time. So,
Non-stop,
I mean, you
yeah.
could just put a mic in front of us and we would do this anyway.
Yeah, we'd be sitting in your closet, your walk-in closet, surrounded by your clothing, talking about Warrior stuff regardless, because the acoustics in here are much better than outside.
The acoustics are pretty good in here. So, yeah, we are recording from my walk-in closet. It's, a great size for clothing items and other, little trinkets. But put two, adult-sized humans in here and it gets pretty tight.
It's not big enough to hold the future of the Golden State Warriors in it.
No.
No.
We're going to have to figure out a studio situation at some point. But that is, we would love to... We need fans of the show.
Yeah, exactly. We need fans. We need
likes
a
and
business
subscribes.
strategy. We need sponsors, but we're getting way ahead of ourselves. But
Okay, so
ultimately,
why are we doing this podcast?
we're doing this because we love the team. And we always talk about the team. But I think what truly made it worth doing for us was realizing that we don't just obsess about plus minuses and stats, percentages of, field goal attempts, etc., etc. In fact, that might be the stuff that we care the least about. I think the stuff that we really care about is the team from a human perspective by way of the Bay Area. We care about the Bay Area a lot. We love being in the Bay Area. And at least something I noticed was how present the team is in the Bay Area. Whether it's, random knockoff stores that are selling Warriors merchandise that is clearly fake, but no one is stopping them. Or you turn a corner and there's a giant Steph Curry mural. Or there'll be like a poster of Draymond Green just up there for no reason whatsoever.
Or the Kevin Durant basketball court.
Kevin Durant basketball court, which, I played on. And I think that what we realized was we like to talk about the team through the lens of culture and the Bay Area, which is what we're trying to do, which is why we named the podcast Just Us, which is a team motto that they used a while back. They still use it, right? They still say 1, 2, 3, just us.
They do. That is the chant that they go to at the beginning of every game, during the huddles when, they're about to get onto the court. They say just us on 3, 1, 2, 3, just us. And that is usually led by Steph.
Yeah.
And it is a huge part of their team philosophy.
Steph Curry, I have a quote of his here that I've written down about the phrase just us. And he describes it as a mantra of believing in your team, believing in what you bring to the team, and that you have everything that you need. It's just a matter of going out there and competing and playing together and believing in yourself. And I think that sense of togetherness is something that we really want to channel, especially because my background, obviously, I loved basketball, but was in another country where I wasn't able to engage with the sport or the team that I liked in a meaningful way. And when I did, it was just kind of like peeking through a crack in the door. And when you peek through and everyone is screaming statistics at you and showing you, the business of basketball up front, or even the day-to-day minutiae of who's performing how, you don't get a good feeling of what it means to be a fan because you're just getting the nitty-gritty of the statistics. So what we want to do is almost present it as like a way for anyone to listen to news and latest goings on in the world of Golden State Warriors without being bogged down in those numbers. You can come in, listen, and feel like you're part of the team and part of the Bay Area culture just through the stuff that we're talking about, which is not going to be primarily statistics.
Exactly. So as a listener, you don't need to know everything about the game, how it's played, who the players are, when they're playing, who they're playing. You know, we'll help fill in
We'll do
some of
that.
those blanks, but really it is about the culture. And Just Us is the team culture. So Kevon Looney, who, you know, has moved on from the team, but one of the things he said is it's not just about one person, right? You've got a team full of people, a city full of people, really a whole state full of people that support you. And so really they have that mindset every time they go onto the court. It's the team that's really carried by the fans and the whole city that's cheering them on.
Exactly. And that's what we wanted. We wanted to, instead of being a door, a crack in the door that you look through, we want it to be a window where you can have a look, stick your head through it, get a nice feel for what it means to be a Golden State Warriors fan, and not feel like you can only participate if you watch every single game, which, as someone who has watched a bunch of games while being in the UK, for example, is very difficult. I was only able to pull it off because I had severe jet lag, and it meant that I was awake at the right times and also had a league pass subscription so I could watch it.
We'll watch all 82 games. Don't worry about that.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
So we will definitely tell you what you need to know, but we won't be getting bogged down, like we said, in the plus minus of what happens when Jonathan Kuminga is on the team. We're going to give you recaps of the game, but either as our take on what we felt was good, what was bad, what we could do differently, or also the experience of being there. Because like we said, we do go to a lot of these games. And I think it would be really nice to, you know, talk about the atmosphere and vibe and that kind of stuff when we're actually there in person.
Right. So there's about 40-ish home games. We'll go to about half of those.
Yeah, exactly.
This season.
Exactly. And then we try and do the extracurricular stuff, which we want to provide a window into, both through the podcast, but also through other means. Like most upstart podcasts, we also are going to have a TikTok presence and Instagram Reel presence, and we were thinking about how we can really differentiate that from the podcast. And one of the ways to do that is to explore the city and the ability to be there in person in a way that can provide unique content there. So if we're going to, for example, we're going to open practice next week, I believe it is, or this week, depending on when you're listening to it. And the goal is to film some of that if we can, and then put it up on the Just Us TikTok feed to be like, hey, you weren't there, but this is what we saw, and hopefully you can get a nice look at it as well. And the goal ultimately is to worm our way into, you know, maybe the press pool, get some time with Steph, maybe, but we'll work our way up there. We're also interested in people who aren't like big names. Like, I want to interview Edgar, who's the guy who is basically always standing outside of the security guard, outside of our portal when we go to sit down in our seats. And we become close friends with Edgar. Every time we see him, we're always excited to see him. But he's been there for years. Like, the things that he must have seen in his time, that's cool. Like the lady that wears the absurd jacket and is at every game, the glittery jacket. What's her name again? I don't remember.
You're thinking about Dance Cam Mom or someone else?
Dance Cam Mom.
Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah, so her, that kind of thing. So the takeaway from this is the idea of how we're approaching it is I've split up what we want to do into two types of podcasts. I call them 3-pointers and jump shots. So the 3-pointers are these kind of episodes, which are going to be meaty, explores the entire week in the world of the Warriors. And then the jump shots are smaller, opportunistic, mid-range shots that are podcasts that are very small recaps after each game. So we'll do our immediate takeaways from each game and then kind of keep the feed alive through that and present as much as we can through that. And we'll also have extra content on TikTok and that kind of stuff. And we're not just going to be, I know we've talked about some of the stuff we want to do. You've expressed an interest in kind of looking at the fits as well.
Yes, I think it's important to look at what the players are wearing to the games and reveal my take on them, because I do have a lot of opinions when it comes to fashion.
You definitely do, yeah. You're a very fashionable person. I think that's what everyone points out about you when they first meet you. You're very stylish. So I think it would be good if you did that and maybe like suggested improvements.
Yeah.
Or like, you know what I like on TikTok when I get every now and then I get a TikTok where it's like, oh, look at this celebrity. He looks great. Let me show you how to replicate this without being as expensive.
Exactly.
So you could do like, here's Steph Curry's fit for $200 instead
Yeah.
of $5,000 or whatever it may be. So we've got plenty of fun ideas. We're hoping to shed some light on local businesses, small businesses, and like people we know that are, trying to make the Bay Area a little more interesting or welcoming through the lens of the Warriors. Because almost everyone we meet in whatever walk of life they're in, they have something to say about the Warriors. They're either diehard fans or they know someone who's a diehard fan. And I think it would be really cool to like get those stories and put them in our podcast or in our content on TikTok or Reels or whatever it may be. So there you have it. Let's get into the actual meat of this episode. So this is going to be the off-season recap episode. So we're going to start off by breaking down where the team is currently at. It's been very, very tumultuous, but we finally have, so the dust has settled, and we finally have a solid team now following all the non-trades and now trades. We'll do a quick recap of the off-season player adventures, because in the time since the season ended and, we had our untimely exit from the playoffs, the players have been doing various things, and we want to recap some of those because it also ties into our own adventures. We've had a few adventures in the off-season as well that tie into the Golden State Warriors in various ways. And then we'll talk about some of the stuff that we've consumed in that time, do a preseason breakdown, and then call it there. Does that sound good?
That sounds great.
All
Let's
right.
jump into it.
Just us.
Just us.
So to start off with,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about trades, or as you said, non-trades.
Yeah.
The Warriors were the only team who had not initiated an off-season move as of mid-September.
Yeah.
And we were starting to freak out a bit.
Yeah.
A lot of this was because the contract negotiations with Kuminga were ongoing.
Yeah.
And nothing could really be settled until that was taken care of.
Yeah. So Jonathan Kuminga, a great player. He has a lot of expectation on him, or had a lot of expectation on him. Very explosive player, can really getting, to the rim. He's very good, very forceful, explosive speed. He can get some serious airtime. He can shoot threes. I think the issue we've had recently is that his fit has been a kind of weird. And at the same time, his own confidence has grown to a point where he believes that he should be a focal point or have a bigger presence in the team, which I agree with, but also the tricky part for the team is they now have Steph Curry, Draymond Green, two proven players who are still playing at a high level. Last season they acquired Jimmy Butler, the third, a superstar in his own right, has taken the Miami Heat to the finals multiple times, along with Bam Adebayo, who is reportedly one of the players that the Warriors are keeping an eye on.
Really?
Because
this is news to me.
This happened while you were out getting coffee, as well as something else, which isn't as good news, but I'll save that for later. Bam Adebayo is another player that they have their eye on. And in the upcoming season also, I believe very soon, Giannis is going to be available potentially from the Bucks. And Jokic, MVP many times, also potentially available. I doubt we'll get them.
That'll be the summer of 2027. I think some
Yes.
big moves in the NBA are going to take place in that offseason.
But the long story short is because of the logjam between Kuminga and the Warriors front office, the business people, the negotiations kind of stalled every other move because it informed what they could do, how much money they have, a plan going forward, that kind of stuff. But thankfully, it has now resolved itself.
Right. Just within the past few days, some of these moves have been finalized, contracts have been signed, and then the domino effect of all the other players being able to make their moves and their signings. So who's on the team now?
So Kuminga agreed to a 2-year, $48.5 million deal. Originally, they had a $45 million deal on there, but the deal includes a team option in the second year that's designed for the Warriors or basically any other team to kind of rip up that contract and start fresh. So to a degree, Kuminga has some control over what happens to him next, which is one of the key things that he wanted. He was willing to give up multiple millions of dollars to have some level of control.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the chatter online was that Kuminga was being selfish or, self-interested in trying to maximize his contract, but really it was about control.
In the media day happened, which is the day where everyone comes in and gets all their pictures taken, and they do all the little basketball bouncing around, do cool things to get all the material basically that they're going to use in promotion for the rest of the year. And they play fun little games that are shown during each game's like halftime or something like that. It would be like, oh, draw yourself blindfolded, or can you remember the lyrics of this song, that kind of stuff. And during that, every player was basically asked, what do you think about this Kuminga situation? Only the players that the PR team trusts really gave an answer. Someone like Moody was like, it's not for me to say, but Steph has obviously got the green light to say whatever he wants, same as Draymond. And they both effectively, Draymond especially has always been a big advocate for Kuminga, and he basically said, I don't think anything bad has happened here. Like, everyone thinks that he's being selfish, but that is exactly how he should behave if he believes in himself. And it is, Draymond talked about how he was approaching recently when he was not sure whether he was coming back to the Warriors. So there's been a lot of, which I think is really good. The team has defended their teammate, even if there's a potentiality where the teammate decides he's not going to play with them.
Exactly. And what Kuminga stated and what other team members stated is that he is committed. He wants to play, and he wants to play for the Warriors. Yeah. And that when he shows up to work, he will be committed.
He will work, yeah. Draymond said he told him he's going to show up, and he's bought into the plan being get Steph Curry one more ring. That makes a lot of sense. A lot of the players, and also this season is also kind of an audition for him. If it turns out he's moving, he needs to play well, because that's how you lure in other teams to take a chance on you or spend big money on you. But that's done now, which means we have now signed a bunch of other players. First up is Al Horford.
Well, Al Horford, for those of you who might remember, it was most recently on the Boston Celtics, the team that we beat in 2022.
Proud daddy?
Yeah, Steph is the proud daddy of the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
He said that, not us.
He said that, not us, yeah. So he's a good center, basically, is what we needed.
He's a veteran.
Yeah,
he knows what's up.
Yeah, he knows what's up. He is a champion. He also plugs a big weakness that we've had for a long time, which is not having a good, reliable center.
Draymond has had to play the center and the five.
Yeah, which is not how he naturally plays. He prefers being at the four. Is it? Which basically means he doesn't like the ball coming to him every time, if I'm interpreting that right. And him kind of being like the bridge between plays. He likes to be able to focus on defending in the way that he does, which means Draymond hopefully will have a little more freedom. Hopefully will be less tired. Last season they really ran him ragged. So apparently Al Horford was deciding between retiring or going to another team, which turned out he didn't really talk about. They had an interview with him after it was official who was joining, and he said, which was, I don't know if he's just like playing up the kind of, he's giving what the fans, what they want to hear. He's like pandering to us by saying the only team he would have left the Celtics for was the Warriors, which is a good start. He knows how to butter up the Warriors fandom, which is smart. But the big concern that people have is him being old, right?
Right. I think people are calling the Warriors the Olden State Warriors.
Welcome to the unction.
The unction. Everyone's an unk on the team.
Yeah, exactly. But there is a quote in there from Al Horford now, which, do you want to read it?
Yeah. And this is when he was deciding whether to retire or join another team.
Yeah, so this is actually in an interview that he had when he joined the team. They said, how do you feel about, people calling you old?
He said it's fair. It's funny because I feel like I've been getting called old since I was like 30. I remember when I signed with Boston, that first extension, I think Brad Stevens said, and Brad Stevens was the coach at the time of the Celtics, he said, oh, you're the oldest guy on the team or something like that at 30. I feel like that's a narrative that's been following me every year.
Yeah, I don't really think too much about the old nature of it. The team is definitely old, but I think old is relative. Like, normal human being old for people like us and like elite sportsmen old is very, very different. I feel like old age pensioner Steph will cook absolutely every teenager that exists, basically.
Definitely. And the way he's been taking care of his body, I'm sure his genetic age is probably younger than what his actual age is. But when people think about, the team that won the last championship, which was the Oklahoma City Thunder, they were the youngest team in the NBA by average age.
Yeah. And I guess when the rubber meets the road, you can say, oh, we don't think that's much of an issue when it's old. But when the rest of the NBA is super young, it does kind of put an older team at a disadvantage. But the thing that's, I think Draymond constantly points out is they have experience. A lot of these younger players, yes, they're young, they're athletic, they don't have playoff experience, which is where, mental fortitude and that kind of we've been here multiple times really pushes you ahead, keeping your cool in a very heated, intense, all or nothing situation.
Yeah, and that's where the Warriors really made a push in the playoffs last season.
Yeah.
Despite injuries, is because they had experience. They knew how to play the game. They knew how to adjust. And that really comes with veteran leadership.
And the Warriors beat the number 1 seed, the Rockets, was it? Were they number 1 or 2? I believe they finished basically 1 or 2, the Houston Rockets, which was largely a younger team, a very aggressive, annoying team, but, largely the same who we have now were the people who came out with experience and kind of started to dismantle that team. And by the time it was done, it was a very satisfying victory. And then they went up against the Timberwolves, which is where Steph got injured. And, the other team players who had come back from injury started to show how without him, the rest of them didn't really have the health in line to sustain the effort forward. Like Jimmy hurt himself. Even people like Pods he's young, but he had like an abdomen issue. Moses immediately after the season ended had surgery on his hand. So they kept it together long enough, but I think once Steph fell, that was when the house of cards came down.
Right.
But we're in a better situation now.
Yeah, so quick recap. We like Kuminga signing or re-signing.
Mm-hmm.
We're very excited about Al Horford. We needed a center, especially with Kevon Looney moving on. Yeah.
And then we also re-signed DeAnthony Melton from the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets, which I'm very, very excited about. Do you remember Melton?
Yeah, he played with us at the beginning of last season.
Yeah.
He was very instrumental in that. I think it was a 12-3 run that we went on.
He was so good.
He was really good.
7-foot wingspan.
Yes, I think he's 6'3"
and
with a 7-foot wingspan. So,
which is unbelievable.
That's insane, actually. Yeah. So he's, very, very good at deflections, steals, rebounds, for a smaller guy, right? Yeah.
And also is a good shooter as well. His catch and shoot. I was watching videos on YouTube yesterday, and he has. Same as Al Horford. There's a funny interview that I saw. I was like doing my research on Al Horford once we signed him officially, and there's a really funny interview where someone asks him about shooting, and talks about elite shooters, but doesn't include Al Horford in that kind of category, and he just says to the interviewer, "You don't think I'm an elite shooter?" And the interviewer kind of like bottles it and starts getting a bit shaky, and it's basically Al Horford saying, "I'm an elite shooter as well." And I watched back, and he does shoot threes a lot, and so he's reliable for that. But so is DeAnthony Melton in that regard. But I really loved him for his defensive capabilities. That 7-foot wingspan, he was poking balls out of people's hands when they were dribbling and like kind of getting into passing lanes to intercept in the way that Jimmy has been doing recently as well. But I'm so glad.
He got injured.
He got injured. He tore his ACL.
Which is a long recovery time.
Yeah, and he's still in recovery. So although we have signed him, he's not ready to play just yet. They said he's on the tail end of his recovery process. So it could be like 4 or 5 games minimum before he comes back.
Well, he got traded after the injury last season. And it's not because the Warriors didn't like him or didn't trust him as a player. They needed to open up some cap space. Yeah. And DeAnthony Melton himself said, it was a business decision. He would have traded himself as well
he said,
if he was in that position. Yeah.
There's a quote from Dunleavy on DeAnthony Melton, which I thought was cool. He said, "I'd say we kind of put a pin in it, took note and said, if we have an opportunity to bring Melton back at some point, let's try and do that. Fortunately enough, we were able to do it, made a long summer of it, but got him signed and ready to go. He'll finish up his rehab and stuff and then be with us soon," which is great. He was practicing at Chase Center So he's playing with the team. He's already building that dynamic back up. And he seems like he's excited and likes being in the Bay Area as well, which is cool.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, Mike Dunleavy Jr.
Yeah.
is the general manager of the Warriors.
Do you remember when he popped up in a cafe that you were at?
Yeah, no, he was at Salt and Straw, on Fillmore. Yeah, I saw him and his kids getting ice cream.
But you did a cool thing.
I did a cool nod. Just,
Yeah.
I didn't approach him or
'Cause he's
kind
with
of
his
say
kids,
hello.
right?
He was with his kids. I didn't want to run up to him and ask for like a picture or an autograph or anything.
That's good fan behavior.
Thank you.
I respect that. That's
I
good
won't.
fan
If
behavior.
I see Steph though, I can't control
I'm
what I
taking my
will or
shirt
will
off.
not
I'm
do.
running at him.
Sign my chest.
Sign my chest. I'll never wash it. The other pickup that we got, a surprise, very, very exciting pickup, Seth Curry.
The actual brother of Steph Curry.
Yeah.
So Splash Bros for real.
Oh, real. Yeah, exactly. And he's signed to a 1-year free agent contract with the Golden State Warriors. So he joins his brother. And again, doing loads of research, I know of Seth, but in doing a little more like concrete research, Seth is also an elite shooter. Not in the way that his shooting is his secondary ability, as you might have for someone like Draymond or even Melton or Al Horford. He is a career shooter. That's his main thing, like his brother. And his efficiency rating is super high. Like
I actually didn't know, but he is the number one 3-point shooter by percentage.
Yes.
Higher than
His brother,
Steph,
yeah.
higher than Buddy Hield, higher than James Harden.
Yeah.
He was the number one 3-point shooter last season.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
He's got a sleeper build, is what we say, which in like gym terms is when someone looks kind of normal and schlubby, and then they take their shirt off and they're ripped as hell. They call that a sleeper build. And Seth Curry definitely has a sleeper build when it comes to 3-point stats. But he's already, and this is kind of like really exciting because I think about the implications of it. And obviously Steph being, by his own admission, he doesn't have a lot of time left, but he feels he has enough time to make a couple of championship runs. He wants to get his brother a ring.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to get his brother a championship. And he's going to be a demon this season, I think. He's just going to be... I imagine his mum and dad are going to be like, you better fix up because your brother needs a ring. Don't be selfish. Look after your brother. So I feel like he's going to be really cool. He's on a Exhibit 9 contract, which I didn't know what it meant. And I still 100% don't know. But based on the research I did, the main reason Exhibit 9 contracts exist is basically to protect a player or a team from being on the hook for a player's full annual salary should that player suffer an injury or significant, issue at the start of the season. So it basically gives them a, get out of jail free clause. But in this case, they can't sign Seth officially because they don't have the cap space, the money basically, to do it without incurring penalties and fees.
So he can't play till
He
mid-November.
can't play it. But when that time comes, they will have this space. So Seth is basically guaranteed to come to the Warriors at that time, to the point where he's practicing with them and he's also doing interviews with them. That's not to preclude, something wild happening and them like reneging on it, but I don't think the Warriors are that kind of organization.
I don't think so, especially with his brother being Steph Curry.
Exactly. And then the other pickup or signing that very near and dear to my heart is Gary Payton II, Young Glove, GP2. He's coming back for another season. There was some worry that he might not be here. I love Gary Payton.
And why do you love him so much?
I love his energy. He's a gamer as well. He's a big gamer. He used to stream a little bit, but I've met him as well in a gaming
By gamer,
context.
he's talking about video games.
Video
everyone.
games, yeah. He's a video game guy. And also, I just love his energy. He's the one that when you mic up, you're in for a good time. I also love his dunk celebration where he'll dunk on someone and then just stare directly into their eyes and then scratch his head as if he doesn't know what's happening. And people hate it, but it's always so funny. And he's always the most unexpected player. He comes out of nowhere and is dunking every single time. He's a good locker room presence as well, which I think is and you can tell, I think I learned I loved him when he wanted to be at the Golden State Warriors so badly that he almost applied to be a videographer for the team. He just wanted to be around the team. And that is, I think, says a lot about loyalty. I think he's on like a minimum contract. He just wants to, I know he just wants to be back at the team.
He loves basketball and he
Yeah.
loves the Warriors.
Yeah. So the current roster as it stands is Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler III, Buddy Hield, Brandon Pajemski, Moses Moody, Guy Santos, Quinton Post, Trace Jackson Davis, Jackson Rowe, Kevin Knox II, Alex Tuhey, Braxton Key, Jonathan Kuminga, Will Richard, Taron Armstrong, Al Horford, Seth Curry, Gary Payton II, Marquise Bolden, LJ Cryer, and Tavion Kinsey. There's a few in there that are like more recent pickups that I'm not familiar with, and I'm not 100% sure that Jackson or Kevin Knox is still there, but I believe they are.
What about Pat Spencer?
And I was gonna say the other surprise was young Pat Spencer coming back out of nowhere. So people who don't know Pat Spencer, he looks like he works at a Safeway. And he's so unassuming. He looks shorter than everyone else. He is also a like legendary like lacrosse player. Like his accolades are in lacrosse, but he just loves basketball so much that he pieced out of lacrosse at the top of the lacrosse game and came to the NBA and made it.
And that aggressiveness that he has as a lacrosse player,
God.
it very much shows on the court, on the basketball
when he's
court.
on the court, he is going nuts. Like he is putting in 200% effort. He's obviously not as talented as Steph or Draymond or something like that, but what he lacks in talent, he puts in work. Same with Guy Santos. But towards the end of last season, there were a couple of games where, garbage time, they put on the second unit, the people who are just supposed to like, ride the rest of the time out. And he came on and he was like, no, I'm playing for my life right now. And like was just destroying people, almost got into a fight with Şengün, had his fellow newbie kind of TJD come in to protect him. So he's, as they say, he's got that dog in him, which I'm glad to see him back because I love Pat Spencer.
Me too.
He also, there's a video of him, someone like driving on a motorway or something like that, or in the Bay Area on a freeway, and they're like filming, and then they turn the camera, and next to them in a just like
Honda Civic
Honda
or something.
Civic beaten down is Pat Spencer, and they're like, "Hey, Pat Spencer!" And he's like, "Hey guys," and he's just driving a normal car.
Yeah, he's a normal dude.
Normal dude, and they asked him during his interview. Firstly, he walked in to the interview, the media interview stuff. And I was listening to the Plus Minus podcast, and none of the reporters knew that Pat Spencer had re-signed. And it was like, it happened like moments earlier. So they were like, oh shit, Pat Spencer's back. And one of the questions was like, oh, did you get a new car? And he's like, nah, I just spent some money on repairing my older one. I'm still rocking it. Which,
good for him.
I love that for him. But yeah, that's the team.
So when we talk about roster spots, during the season, an NBA team is allowed to have a maximum of 15 players.
Yeah.
And they can add up to 3 two-way players. Do you want to explain what a two-way player is?
So I believe two-way player is a player that can play in the development league. Is that right?
It's called the G League now. It used to be called the D League, the Development League, but I guess people were offended by that.
Now it's the Gatorade League.
Now it's the G League, G standing for Gatorade.
Which sucks.
Sponsor us, Gatorade.
Yeah. I think D League is better than G League because it's where you want to develop your talents. A lot of the players that are on the team now or were on the team, kind of like they earned their stripes in the G League and like perfected or honed their skills. Like Jordan Poole, for example, no longer with us. He's New Orleans Pelicans now, I think.
Yeah, he's on the Pelicans.
With Kevon Looney, former Warriors player. He was there, TJD was there, various other players have played there and then had the call up to the NBA. And these are players that can go back and forth, basically.
Yeah, so, if a player is, or one of the main players is injured, or if they need some rest, they'll call up players from the G League, and the equivalent G League for the Golden State Warriors is the Santa Cruz Warriors. So they're based out of Santa Cruz. That's where they play. And, there's a huge fan base for the G League. We've watched a few games here and there, but it would be interesting to go to a game in person. I feel like we kind of went to a G League experience over the summer, which we'll get to in a little bit.
To the
California Classic.
Before, there's connections between the coaching as well, because Steve Kerr, who's the coach of the Golden State Warriors, his son was the G League coach for a while, Nick Kerr.
Nick
I believe he's
Kerr.
left the organization now, though. So he's moved on. But yeah, we saw kind of basically G League players at the California Classic, which we went to, was it 2 days after we got married?
Yeah, it was. So the weekend after we got married, we went to the California
That's
Classic.
our honeymoon. Our honeymoon
That was our honeymoon.
going to Chase Stadium.
Honestly, that is what us as a couple, that kind of defines our relationship.
Yes.
Is we, instead of a honeymoon, we would rather go and watch the Warriors play. That is our ideal honeymoon.
We were content with getting married and then going to watch some basketball with our new players, and we got to see Steph popped up as well to show his support to his new teammates and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, since we're talking about it, let's jump into our off-season adventures.
Yeah,
so that was
yeah.
the first thing after the season ended. Obviously, it was a bust of a season,
Mm-hmm.
but lots of learnings. Right, we got Jimmy Butler, and the thing that we wanted to do was go to this tournament style thing. So it was the 7th annual California Classic. It was in July. The games were with players competing to make the NBA or G League roster. So it was very competitive. And it was 4 teams. It was the Warriors, Miami Heat, Lakers, and Spurs. And it was 3 days of basically back-to-back games. And so we attended on Saturday and Sunday, and we had pretty good seats
Really
as
good seats.
well. We were pretty close to the court, kind of right behind the benches or the Warriors bench.
Not as good as last year where I sat in the E40 seat.
Yeah, we were courtside, like actual first row.
I had my
courtside.
seat stolen by a seat thief. as I
Quentin
like to call
Post.
him. Yeah, Quentin Post. He was sitting in my seat and I was like, listen, buddy, that's my seat. I know you're on the team, so you can sit there if you want. I just need you to know that that's my seat. And he was like, sorry, dude. And moved. I was like, that's right, Quentin Post.
Yeah. That's before he had any notoriety. We love Quentin
Yeah,
Post
he's great.
now.
He's great.
QP is his nickname.
QP Mayo is what
Yeah.
we call him. Yeah.
but
So we
we
saw like
were-
Jackson Rowe, Alex Tuhey, Will Richard, Isaiah Mobley, Evan Mobley's brother. He was good.
He was really
He
good.
played his ass off.
I would have wanted him to make it further and
Yeah.
potentially be on the G League roster.
Yeah, but he hasn't, unfortunately. But that was really fun. I really enjoyed that. That was like a little taste of basketball after suffering of having none for so long. It kind of like just kept us. It's like a little drop of water in the desert after you've been, deprived of it for many, many miles.
We do get a little depressy during the summer.
Yeah,
The
I started
off
drinking
season is
Depressos.
it gets a little sad without any NBA action, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. And then we went to a little pop-up that appeared in San Francisco. This is the kind of thing where we mean when we talk about living the Warriors' life through the Bay Area. This is the kind of thing that we did that embodies that, and it's something that we want to hopefully bring to other people. We went to the pop-up in San Francisco for Big Face Coffee.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Big Face is Jimmy Butler's coffee brand, and it's actually really good.
Yeah.
So they have an actual cafe in Miami because Jimmy Butler used to be on the Miami Heat, and so they did a pop-up for a couple of weeks. It was on 22nd and Valencia in the Mission, and it was a great experience. It was the atmosphere, the environment. It was very Jimmy coded.
How many times did we go?
We went a few times. I think about four
4?
times in the span of 2 weeks. But we missed the day where Jimmy was actually
Jimmy
there.
wasn't there, yeah.
Yeah, which was unfortunate. But we're hoping we'll get a Jimmy sighting soon. He
He's just
seems-
announced that he's making an official, proper store here. Which is
Yeah, he
exciting.
did make an announcement
that
that in
media day.
February or March
Yeah.
they would be opening a permanent Big Face Cafe
Yeah.
here in the city.
Very exciting.
Very, very exciting. We will be there all the time because the coffee is really good.
Genuinely
and
good.
We've
And-
become coffee connoisseurs of
Yeah,
sorts,
yeah.
over the past couple of years.
And he does they do weird stuff with coffee. And they had like a lemonade coffee style thing. They had like coconut foam,
Cloud foam,
cloud foam. And they have like weird, when you see them on the menu, you're like gross.
like a strawberry latte.
Yeah, I tried pretty much everything, and it was really good. It was delicious, and I was showing a someone we know who also works in the coffee world some of the stuff that Jimmy has access to, and she was like, "Oh, this guy he knows what he's doing," and it's true. If you watch I think it's the Vanity Fair tour around his Miami apartment, he shows off his coffee machine, and it's like a coffee machine that a handful of people in the world have. So he's a real pervert about coffees.
He is. And
Which is
the
great.
reason he got into coffee was during the bubble, right? During COVID, when they basically had to shut everything down. All the players were in, a proverbial bubble where they
Yeah.
played games, there were no fans, everything was really kept clean and
They basically lived in dorms.
yeah, and they didn't have, access to, I guess, good
Coffee?
coffee. So he decided that he was going to create coffee, like a great coffee, but also make a business out of it.
Yeah, and if you're in like a building with basically millionaires, top to bottom, how much are you charging for that coffee?
He charged a lot. I think he started off charging $20, but
Yeah.
eventually made his way up to $100 because
Yeah.
I guess they were paid in $100 bills
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So
And-
people didn't have change. So he would charge people $100. And that's where, $100 is also known as a big face.
Yep.
So that's one of the reasons why he named his company Big Face.
Yep. And we purchased way too much Big Face stuff.
Yeah, we went a little
Yeah,
overboard.
we've got Big Face apparel. We've got Big Face mugs, spoons. We've got a kettle that's Big Face. It's just a really nice design, though. Like, I feel like a lot of this, the kettle, for example, we haven't used it, but it makes a really interesting piece.
It's
discussion
artwork.
piece. Yeah, it's a little artwork thing, which is how we convince ourselves that we know how to spend money well.
Yeah, and it's great branding. One of their taglines is may cause involuntary
Involuntary
happiness.
happiness.
It's just a fun brand.
Yeah, it
and he's
is.
doing it right. And the quality of his merchandise, so his clothing, his hats, everything is really high quality.
Nothing is drop shipped. Nothing is like some generic brand that someone else has put their stamp on, like Jimmy has put their stamp on. He clearly is involved deeply in all this stuff. And it looks like he's going to be continuing that kind of business because he also represents Aloe, the clothing brand. And I was walking on Sutter the other day, and there's a giant Jimmy Butler mural now up there of him wearing Aloe. And then I got home and opened Instagram, and the picture was of Jimmy Butler standing in front of it. So I must have missed him by like an hour or something.
Yeah, they're collabing. So Aloe and Big Face, they have a new sneaker that's
Yeah.
coming out soon. So, he's doing stuff
He's doing
out
stuff,
there.
yeah. Another pop-up that we went to was more your focus, but I got a lot of joy out of it as well. And it was Sweet July.
Yes.
A Sweet July pop-up.
So Aisha Curry, Steph Curry's beautiful wife,
Mm-hmm.
has a company called Sweet July, and part of it is her skincare and beauty line. So we went to Big Face, and then we went to this pop-up.
Carrying all our Big Face
I know,
stuff.
we were carrying a lot of stuff. We were wearing our matching neon yellow Big Face sweaters.
Yep.
Because we do stuff like that. And it was also in the Mission. We went to Garden Creamery, which is an ice cream spot where Aisha was launching her new lip treatment.
And you turned to me and you're like, I wonder if she's going to be here. And I was on my phone because I'm perpetually on my phone and looked at her stories, and she was in a car. She was driving somewhere. And I was like, oh, she's driving somewhere. She probably won't. And then I look up and her car pulls up. And I was like, oh, I think she's here. And then you turned on a dime and looked, and she came out of the car.
I was starstruck.
Yeah. And it got better for you.
It did. So we waited in line for 2 hours,
Yeah.
maybe? We waited in line for 2 hours. As we were approaching the front to get in, that's when Aisha showed up.
Yeah.
With her family. Her daughters were there. Some other folks from her family were there. Steph was not. He was, I think, at a golf
Yeah, it
tournament
was a
that
golf
weekend.
tournament.
And so we go in, and they're serving ice cream that is similar to the flavors of the lip treatment. So there was guava and a few other flavors. And Aisha Curry was the one who served me my ice cream.
Well,
she was behind the counter.
Before you even got to the counter, she looked in our direction and locked eyes with you
Yeah.
and just started a conversation,
Yeah,
which was wild.
it was
I
insane.
got it on video as well. And the look in your eyes as she started, because she was like, oh, I love she said, complimented your outfit. And then was like, what have you got in your hands? And we were like, oh, we just came from Big Face. And
We had the huge kettle in our hands,
she's
the
like,
box.
you've got what? And I was like, kettle. And she's like, oh my God. And then you talked for a solid minute.
Yeah.
It was so nice. And then she kind of milled around for a bit. And yeah, firstly, she is beautiful.
Very.
Insane.
Yeah.
Perfect skin, first of all.
Amazing skin.
Quite a presence as well. She was just walking around.
Magnetic, I'd say.
Yeah. Meanwhile, her daughters were just chilling in the corner, being like, yeah, this is life,
Yeah. But she's so sweet, very kind. You could tell, right?
Yeah.
beautiful inside and out. And the lip treatment actually is really good.
I have it.
Yeah. Tam used it. I used it. I used it on the plane. It was great, and we've continued using it. So her stuff really works.
It's really good for when you have chapped lips on a long flight. That's what I've been using it for. And then the other major big off-season adventure for us is we went to London, my home in London. Second time for you since we met, but you went previously, like when you were young, right? But this was the second time we went, and we went to the NBA store in London, which you've never been to before, right? This is your first time?
No, we went.
Did we go last time?
We
as
went
well?
last time, but this time we spent a lot of time and a lot of money there.
Yes. As you can tell, we are hopeless when it comes to money and NBA. So we're just getting robbed.
Scammed left and right. Yeah.
But all the stuff was good. I mean, the store was really nice. We recorded loads of videos, which we're hopefully going to stitch together and put up on our TikTok so you can get a little tour of it. But really cool store.
Yeah, it's one of their kind of like flagship stores. They only have, I think, like 30 or so in the whole world. This one was really big. It was
huge.
3 floors of amazing stuff. So they had a lot of the franchise player merch. So they had jerseys from like Steph Curry, LeBron, Giannis, Luka, SGA. I'm guessing they would have had Durant, but I don't even know if he was on the Rockets at that point.
No,
he just changes teams so much that I don't feel like a store can really have his merch available.
Yeah. And especially because now that you know how the way like soccer teams do it is different from the way NBA teams do it. Where NBA, they just print a bunch of jerseys with a player's number and letter on it, and then send it to stores, and that's what they sell. Whereas in the soccer world, because I was buying multiple Mo Salah Liverpool player shirts, and what they do is they send the letters and numbers separate from the shirt. So when you go to a store, you pick up a shirt and tell them what you want on there, and it's official. But they basically do the transfer. They'll add whatever kind of like badges and etc. onto the back that you want or whatever it may be. But then that's how you get an official shirt. But it means that you don't have to worry about players moving and that kind of business. They also had a lot of like legacy stuff, like Allen Iverson shirts, and they had a bunch of kind of cool, unique style. There was a Warriors jersey that we had never seen before there. It's like a weird graffiti style one, which we have since seen pop up on like the Fnatic store. But my favorite thing, which is on the very top floor, there's like a relaxing area. It's kind of like, if you think of the Apple Genius Bar kind of area, it's that, but it's basketball. They've got an NBA Jam machine, or a 2K machine actually. They're showing old games on a big screen. But they in the corner have, how would you describe them? They're like these made out of brass basketballs, but obviously they're not basketball. They're very heavy brass, and they all have imprinted on them, the palms, actual sizes and depths of various players. So you can basically like put your hand into their hands and see how you measure up. And it is insane. It
is. We tried there were maybe 6 different players' hands. Steph's was not normal size. It was pretty big.
Pretty big, but reasonable.
But then it kind of goes up in size. So
until it gets to...
At the end, we were at Kawhi Leonard, and his hand is freaky big.
It is. I think if he wanted to, he could kill someone by slapping them.
Yeah.
Like I checked, his hand is bigger than my head.
Really?
Yeah. Like, as in, like, top to bottom, he could, like, palm my head.
Yeah, and he does palm. That's why it looks so effortless when he palms a basketball.
Yeah, that's why he's the Claw.
That's why he's called the Claw. That's his nickname. Yeah. And no wonder when he's holding a water bottle, it just looks comically small in his hand.
It looks like that tiny little micro bottle that everyone loves currently.
Yes, we have that hydro flask. It's the mini hydro flask.
Yeah. But that was really cool. It's a really interesting store. It's a really cool store. I like it because it's a good representation of how far the NBA has come in terms of global penetration, because it's a flagship store in Oxford Circus, one of the busiest shopping districts. It's not some niche anymore. You go in there and there's people in there like constantly. You can buy everything from, customizable hats and shirts to memorabilia, and little, bits and pieces. We bought like a towel. We bought a bag for one of the balls that I play with. But it's a very robust store, and there's a good community building there as well, which was nice.
Definitely. And they have an entire like station where you can get anything embroidered.
Yeah, yeah.
So next time
Anything from the store.
anything from the store. So next time we want to get maybe some hats embroidered with Steph's
Yeah,
autograph,
Steph's
it would be nice to
autograph.
have the real thing, but in lieu of that, we'll
Yeah.
take some embroidered autographs.
Yeah, for those interested, we currently have 2 signatures from Warriors players. So we have, or Warriors representatives. We have Steve Kerr and Draymond Green.
And those are on a basketball.
On a-
but I have Klay
You
Thompson's
got Klay
autograph.
Thompson.
I've met
Yeah,
him,
Yeah.
which was amazing.
Yeah.
I've met Zaza Pachulia, Sean Livingston, a few players here and there from the past. But
I have a picture with GP2. I didn't ask for his autograph.
you'll have to do that next time.
Next time.
Yeah, and I mean, since we have season tickets, we do get invited to season ticket exclusive events. That's where we got Steve Kerr's autograph,
yeah.
and we got to meet him and have
We
a
talked to
chat
him.
with
Like,
him.
he was really nice.
Yeah, we took a picture with him. He's really great.
Really. He isn't one of those people who you can tell is a celebrity and is like just trying to pass the time. Like his body language when we started talking to him changed, where he faced us and like kind of cut himself off for what was happening and like engaged in the conversation. And I was telling him how about, I moved here and then met you and now I'm a, Warriors fan. And he was like talking about that experience and what it's like to coach the team. And it was really, really like memorable. But yeah,
That was also the day we got to shoot free throws on the court,
Yeah.
at Chase Center. We got to shoot free throws on the court, and we both swished.
we both swished, both made it.
Yeah.
That would have been embarrassing I almost embarrassed myself because I bounced the ball before I took my shot, forgetting that they had put like carpet down basically, and it wasn't the direct court, so it like hit the floor and did not bounce back up, and it just looked like I had no idea what I was doing. I just did not know that there was a carpet underneath me, and I picked it up and shot it, and it went in, and everyone started clapping. It was like ooh, ah, and then you came up and did the same thing, and people were like, oh, that's interesting, and then everyone behind us missed.
Yeah.
So
A lot of people missed that
yeah,
day.
fantastic. So yeah, that is the adventures.
What was
thus
your
far.
favorite off-season adventure for us?
I think my favorite off-season adventure is, I feel like I want to say the NBA store in London, but it's cheating because London was a week-long trip where we did a bunch of other things, and if it was a sole singular event in isolation or in a vacuum, I think it's the pop-up day.
Big
where we went to
Face.
Big Face and then went to Sweet July, and then you got to talk to Aisha Curry, who you love. So I think that was probably my favorite. What about you?
Yeah, that I would say Big Face and the Aisha Curry pop-up. That was a very memorable day. We did a lot. We were very tired by the end of it, but it was very fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I feel like we just had experiences that we'll never forget that day.
Yeah. It helped us get through the no basketball season. All right, so we're going to go to the preseason breakdown now.
Well, actually, what about the players' adventures?
Oh, yes.
What did the
my
players
bad.
do this
So
off-season?
during the off-season, the players, obviously we mentioned Steph's golf tournament. Steph is a lover of golf as well as basketball, and
He's really good.
annoyingly good at it. And I say annoyingly because it just means that he's pretty much
Good at
spectacular
everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he like hole-in-ones, like he won the tournament he was in. I think he also takes like an active interest in like being an ambassador for the sport in various ways.
Yeah, and he's mostly playing for charity, but I do think legitimately he could be a professional golf player.
I don't
hands
doubt
down.
it at all. No, yeah, and he plays a lot as well. But yeah, he did basically he did a few camps for golf and basketball as well, for like kids and that kind of stuff. He released a book, Shot Ready, which I'm currently reading, and it's really good. I think we're going to do like a review of it on our TikTok.
We have 2 copies of
We've
it.
got 2 copies of it. One is going into our Warriors shrine, which we should do a video on at some point. But there is a very nice cabinet in our living room that is filled with Warriors memorabilia of various kinds, ranging from like bobbleheads we've got at the games to like piece of the court
Of the
from a
championship court.
championship
Yeah.
season, that kind of stuff. So he also went to China. He released a little drink called Plezi.
Your favorite drink.
I have weirdly become obsessed with Plezi because it is one of those hydrating sports drinks, but it doesn't have that viscous quality that like something like a Gatorade does. And I think it's because they add a little bit of juice in there, which means the calories are slightly high. It's like 80 or something like that. But it also means that it feels like you're actually drinking a fruit drink.
What's your favorite flavor?
Mango. The mango flavor, mango orange, I think is really good. The lime one's okay, but I think I like the mango orange one. And it's available like everywhere.
At a few
You
places,
can
yeah.
get a Safeway in can and bottle form. But yeah, he released that. Jimmy did a world tour.
He's been everywhere. He's
He
just
just
been
goes
traveling
everywhere.
the world.
And it's a mixture of like going to see businesses. So he was I think he opened a big face in China or somewhere in Asia or something like that. But then he also was just traveling around seeing people.
He went to the U.S. Open. He
Yeah.
loves Carlos Alcaraz,
they're
tennis
good
player.
friends, yeah.
They're good friends.
So he went there but it wasn't on the day Alcaraz won Wimbledon, not Wimbledon, the US
U.S.
Open.
Open.
It was the day before, which is cool. So he's been doing some touring. I think he met up with Draymond at one point, met up with Buddy at one point, even though Buddy says he didn't because they love griefing each other. Buddy was in Rome, which he said he didn't enjoy because it was nothing like Gladiator, which is very funny to me. I love the naivety and like the innocence of Buddy Hield. We saw Pods at
He was at the California
Yeah, he was at
Classic.
the California Classic with TJD, was also there. But he's popped up various times at Golden State Valkyries games.
He loves watching the
Yeah,
Valkyries. This was their inaugural season.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, the WNBA, the women's NBA, the Valkyries are the San Francisco Bay Area team that came into existence very recently. So you'll see Warriors players showing them some love. Moses was touring as well. I just watched a video of him where he talked about being in Atlanta, and against the wishes of his trainers and coaching staff, he played some pickup ball, but he did it after his surgery, but he only used the other hand. And the story he tells is like he went to the court to play with randoms, pickups, and one of them was like, "Is that Moses Moody?" And then they started playing, and because he was playing with his non-dominant hand, he made like 3 air balls in a row, and then someone went, "That's not Moses Moody." But it obviously was him. So and he was telling that story laughing at it. So he also played 1v1 versus Draymond, and Draymond tried a
Fadeaway Dirk
fadeaway
shot.
Dirk one-legged shot and just airballed it, and Moses is like, "That's not your game, brother. Don't do that," which is really funny. Draymond worked out with Jimmy as well. Buddy set a record for threes at a certain gym that was previously held by James Harden, which was cool. So they've been active, but as far as I can tell, pretty much everyone has been training super hard. Everyone came back in shape. Everyone posted little snippets of them training. Kuminga's been going crazy, which is good for us now that we've re-signed him.
Yeah, and they call it an off season, but I feel like you can never be in a true off season. They're never not doing something. Like they have to be training. They have to keep their bodies right, their mind right. And training camp is officially starting.
Yeah.
Jimmy had basically the entire team over at his house in San Diego for a little team retreat prior to the season kicking off.
Yeah.
Everyone has some interesting stories about his house. He has a huge wine cellar.
Yeah,
and
who's Draymond?
Oh, it was
Someone said he had the wine cellar of an emperor.
Yeah.
I think it was Draymond that said that. Jimmy is not guaranteed to play the first game back, having injured his ankle at practice.
Really? Is this the news?
That's the news. Yeah, he tweaked his ankle. So he's uncertain whether he's going to play.
I'm devastated.
The first game.
I can't be receiving this news in real time.
Yeah. And obviously, every Warriors fan is going into immediate doom mode. First reply is, "Oh, it's so over for us." Which is like, come on, guys, relax. That's the one thing that I really want to kind of combat in whatever way possible. The Warriors fan base, I love them. I'm part of them. They're so depressing.
Yeah.
And they're such haters of their own team.
Yeah.
And that's something I really want to stay away from. And I say it's going to be easier said than done because Shazia, as you can attest to, if things go badly, I become very defeatist when it comes to the team.
We both do.
Yeah.
On days where the Warriors lose, we can't even function. We can't have a normal conversation.
Yeah.
We're just like, we're going to bed. Bye.
Yeah, we go to bed. And I have moments where I'm like, it's over for us. We're never going to do anything meaningful ever again. And then the next day I'm like, no, we can do it. We're good. But
it's a roller coaster.
It's a roller coaster, but I feel like I eventually bounce back into like, we can do this mode.
When Steph's on the team,
anything is possible.
Anything is possible. There should be no doubt.
Yeah. And but Warriors fans are a little more like fire Steve Kerr, kill Pajemski,
Yeah, but
fire
these are
Buddy into the
also
sun.
social media fans.
Yeah, social
they're
media
they're
fans.
not the fans that are at the game.
You are quoting word for word Kuminga,
Yeah.
who said that when he came back, they were like, people were worried about your commitment. And he was like, he basically said, Twitter fingers turn into trigger fingers or whatever it may be, or trigger fingers turn into Twitter fingers, the Drake line. He did phrase it in a very poor way where he was like, yeah, but there are people who never come to the game. And then someone replied immediately and was like, in the comments, I was like, not everyone can afford to come to the game, brother.
Oh, geez.
Which is
if
true.
it's one
Which is
thing,
true.
then it's another.
It's true. I respect that. I respect it. No one can. We're privileged. A lot of people are privileged. There's international fans who could not come to the game. But also, he's right in that they're the people who their primary way of engaging with the fandom is to be shitty online. And we want to try and counter that a bit with a little bit more positivity and because I don't want to fire Steve Kerr because I keep reminding myself he won 4 championships for us. So I'm sure he's capable of doing it a 5th time. And I would rather he stick around,
Speaking of him, he made some comments about his contract.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, so he's technically, he's contracted. He's going to be coach until the end of this season, at which point there is the opportunity to get an extension. He was asked whether he intends to extend, and his reply, which I thought was very diplomatic and very Steve Kerrish, was, "I'm not thinking about any extension discussions during the season. When we reach the end of the season, that's when we can start thinking about it. And if I do get an extension, I'm very happy to stay with the team. If I don't, I will have enjoyed my time here." So basically, he's saying, "I'm focusing on the season, and I want to end on good terms." I feel like he's being quite humble there. I don't believe there's a situation where Steph Curry okays a Steve Kerr not being extended.
Right.
It feels like him and Draymond and Steve Kerr, they're just trying to end at the same time.
Yeah, and Steph has, 2 more years?
Yeah.
Draymond has 2 more.
2 more years, yeah. And if Steve extends, he'll have 2 more.
So
they
I think,
roughly finish at the same time.
Yeah,
they
there's
retire
this
together.
range of opportunity that the team wants to stay together, and Steve Kerr is a huge part of that leadership.
Yeah, and Steve Kerr is also very good at what he does.
He is.
Like, people obviously shit on him, and everyone's a armchair analyst and thinks they know better. But the turnaround we had last season when Jimmy came along wasn't entirely just because of Jimmy. It was Steve Kerr knowing when to move pieces and how to do it, and putting strategies to use and figuring out how to play around Jimmy and Steph and that kind of stuff. So a coach is important, and Steve Kerr is very capable, both as a player, given he is a championship, Chicago Bulls player, and having studied under, Greg Popovich and, winning multiple championships. With Michael Jordan and as a coach as well. And he does say like his coach championships are more valuable to him than his player championships because he's in charge of a group of people as opposed to just being one person and contributing, which is cool. But yeah, I would love to see him stay, but I'm glad his eye is on the prize, which is this season.
Yeah, and one of the other things he was in the off season was his interview with
the Arsenal
GM.
Yeah, so the football soccer team Arsenal, who my cousin is a big fan of. So he's the one that alerted us to it. He's also a basketball enjoyer. Unfortunately, is a Miami fan. I've tried to lure him over to our side, but he's he's dedicated to Miami.
Because he likes the jersey.
No, that's my brother.
Oh, okay.
My brother was like picking a team, and my cousin convinced him to pick the Miami Heat because they have a basketball on fire.
Which is pretty cool if you
pretty
think about
sick,
it.
to be fair. But then I showed him a bunch of Steph Curry highlights and told him that he lives in a Steph Curry family.
And we bought your brother a Warriors hat.
Yeah, so he has a Warriors hat now, and he gets it. He's a Steph Curry fan. He's a Warriors fan. So I feel like I've coerced him into it, which is good. But Steve Kerr was in London. He had like this really long form, almost like a lecture, college lecture style discussion around leadership mentality with the general manager of Arsenal. And it's really fascinating because both, coaches came from a playing background, which was really interesting. So it was a good insight into the kind of mentality it takes to make that transition, but also to lead a team of superstars and knowing when to push, knowing who you can give, rope to do what they want and that kind of stuff. So it was really It's one of the reasons why I'm like, no, this guy knows what he's doing. Even if the team performance might not be exactly where you want, his mindset and the way he approaches it makes sense within the Warriors system as opposed to the Steve Kerr system, which what players try and fit into. So it's really fascinating. You can find that on YouTube, which is where I watched it, but I do recommend it. All right, let's go into a quick breakdown of the preseason schedule. First game, October 5th versus the Lakers, 5:30 p.m. ESPN. That's going to be a big one.
I can't wait to just sit down and watch a game.
It. Yeah, you are going to that one?
No, we're going to be watching it from home.
Oh, we're watching it from home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then the game after that is the 8th, October 8th, against the Blazers. And as part of that, there's a giveaway.
We love a good giveaway.
We love a good giveaway, yeah.
And this one is the Steph Curry bobblehead. It's his all-star game MVP bobblehead.
If I could provide some feedback to whoever is at the Golden State organization, in the politest way possible, your bobbleheads are not good.
They're interpretive.
They look like they're all the same mold, and then they've done their best to kind of introduce details that bring them closer to the player that they're supposed to be.
Yeah, and we have a lot of bobbleheads. I think we'll have to do our top 5 bobbleheads.
But there's times where you look at a Klay Thompson bobblehead next to a Steph Curry bobblehead and they look exactly the same. And it's like, we live in a world of Funko Pops where, you can mass produce these things. I think it would be nice if they put a little more effort into it. I do think that they do deserve praise for the way they theme them.
The themes are great.
The themes are great. Like the one that we really want next is the Buddy Hield, Jimmy Butler bobbleheads.
Which we are going to get. So we're on October 17th. That's the third and final preseason game, home game, versus the Clippers. And the first 10,000 fans get that Best Buddies bobblehead.
But they have stuff like, here's, Captain Clay bobblehead. And here's Steph Curry hitting his 4,000th, three-pointer bobblehead. So the theming's great. Just a little more like, make them look a little more like who they're supposed to be. And that's great. I'd love that. I'd appreciate that. But yeah, that's the first 3 games coming up, which will be cool. And like I said, we'll have jump shot episodes after each of those, where we'll do like a quick 15-minute takeaway from the episode and try not to be too bogged down in the details of play, but we'll have a little bit of that. So if you're a stat fiend and you want like a recap of what happened, those are the ones that you should definitely not miss. Okay, so that's everything. So what's next for us? What's next is we publish this episode, and you can hopefully follow us on YouTube. You can find us on there. Just search for Just Us Podcast. I think it's podcasts with an S.
Why?
Because podcast was taken, and I really didn't want it to be like additional words. Like I didn't want numbers. I didn't want it to be like Just Us Podcast 30, because I just don't like the way that looks. And I thought if I have to add something to make it unique, I'd rather have the S, because technically correct, there's going to be multiple episodes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that wasn't the same thing for TikTok, where somehow Just Us Podcast and Podcasts was taken. So I believe, actually, TikTok might be Just Us Podcasts as well. But Instagram is going to be different. But you can find us everywhere. Just search for us. We'll be there. And if you want to, find me on Twitter or something like that, or anywhere else, I'm on Blue Sky as Tamoor H. I say me because I'm way more visible than you.
Yeah, I'm very much so offline.
You should, as I hope you remain, because the world is a horrible place online.
Yeah.
But I'll be tweeting and posting about it, so I'm sure you can find me and make your way back to the various social platforms that you're interested in.
Yeah, but the main way to watch our podcast
YouTube.
For now is on YouTube.
Yeah. It's an audio only for now, but we are building up to video. Obviously, like we said, we're recording in a closet right now. We do have the capabilities to record a video podcast. We just want to do it right. And, I have various setups in our apartment relating to my other extracurricular activities, but I want to try and make it something unique to us and this podcast. So we'll get there, but please do subscribe to us there and share it. And then also find us on various other platforms and subscribe and follow those. And share and tell your friends about us if you can. And if you are listening to the podcast, please engage with it wherever you are listening to it. So if you're on YouTube, give it a thumbs up, comment, try and watch it all the way through as much as you can, because stuff like watch time and engagements is how the podcast now sink or swim because of the algorithm. That goes the same on all other platforms. So please do try and interface with it, so we have a little more of a shot at making it somewhere. I think we're going to continue to do this podcast regardless, because it scratches an itch for us. But
Yeah, it brings us
great
joy
if we could earn some money off of it or something, or get
That
in
would
a
be great.
room
Or
with
get-
Steph Curry.
Yeah, I think that is our goal,
That's our
is
ultimate
to
goal,
be
yeah.
able to interview the players
Yeah.
and get some airtime with them. And yeah, I mean, we're not in it for monetizing
No,
necessarily.
that'll be a nice bonus.
We
but-
just love the team and
Yeah,
would like to get
totally.
as close as possible and learn from them and
Yeah.
learn, personal things about them,
Yeah,
how,
exactly.
the culture of the team, like really get some insights.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're very
We're
excited
trying
about
to do it
that.
in a very organic way. Having said that, if you are in the business of podcasts and would like to sponsor us or speak to us about business opportunities, you can reach out to me, because I just made us a deck.
Yes, it's a very nice professional looking deck, and I
Yeah.
think we could get some sponsors if this thing really takes off.
I sent it to a friend of mine who works in the PR world, and he's basically was like, "This is good enough to just start pitching people." And I was like, "Yep, that's what I was going for." So
Insane. We're looking forward to this growing, and
Yeah, one step at a
throughout the season, it's going to be something that we turn to, and we hope you turn to it as well.
Yeah. Thank you for listening.
All right, thanks everyone. Just us on 3. 1, 2, 3, just
Just
us.
us.